and 10 years later they're still together and it's perfect. And for some people it's longer. And it's taking a car out for a test drive, it's visiting a flat several times. You haven't committed to each other really. That's what marriage and weddings are.
Yeah.
It's making this promise, and it's fine if right now you are questioning everything, because this is the time to do it. And Clay, I mean, we went through a journey with Clay where, at the beginning it was just like, oh, what did he do? And then the last 2 episodes we talked about him, was like, oh, he's on a path. Like he's not there yet, but he is trying to get there, and he's on a path. And he showed it to us on yesterday's episode of self-awareness. It was just fantastic.
Self-awareness.
I don't want to make a jingle. I need to. But that's the whole thing of he feels he's not ready to make this long-term promise. And so he said,
yeah,
and I don't want to give up. I just want to, take a bit of more time. And that's just beautiful.
yeah,
And he did it. Sorry, he did it in a perfect way. I don't think he could have done it any better. He took the time, he put the effort in up till the last minute. He gave himself everything. He wanted to be sure of his decision one way or another. He said it beautifully. He said it, sincerely. You could feel that it was, unlike Jimmy, we'll talk about Jimmy after. You could feel that Clay was 100% sincere. I could see before the wedding that he was uncomfortable. I was like, he is so uncomfortable. Is it the cameras? Is it the stress? Like, he is so uncomfortable. That's what was going on. He did it perfectly. And sadly, it's the proof that even if you communicate perfectly, and again, I think this was perfect, sometimes it won't be received in the way that you would like for it to be received. And AD received it violently. And she was right to, because she wasn't expecting it. And even if she were expecting it, it's kind of like, when somebody is on life support and ends up dying, you're expecting it, but it's still hard. So even if you are expecting it, it's still hard. And she still received it in a certain way. I think she handled herself well as well, of just, trying to handle her emotions without being,
as best she can in that emotional state. Like, it's very emotionally loaded when it's hard to hear someone, saying beforehand how he said, I'm not saying no to you, but it's very hard to hear someone saying no and not take it personally. It's we preach a lot, like how we shouldn't take these things personally and not take things to heart. In general, I think getting insulted or taking things too much to heart is just a waste of your emotions in general in life. But it's very hard, it's very difficult, and especially in such an overly loaded emotional journey and process that they're going through on this experiment. And I think she especially had a rough time with him throughout the whole relationship. They had a lot of ups and downs, and she had to again, I have a word in Hebrew and I can't think of it in English, but like, she had to accept him and be understanding and
compromise,
and just
compromise.
Yeah, sort of. She had to do more of the compromising because he was more the one that had to go through a journey.
Yeah. And I will add to Clay and AD that is the proof that, one, love is not blind, but we know this. But 2, appearance is not everything, because he's good looking and she fell in love with him without his looks, and she was ready to go on, move forward with him. And at the beginning, we had the sense, I think everybody had the sense, even he did, that looks were very important. And AD is stunning. I think she fits his standards to a T. He said it himself. And he's still not getting married with her, even though she's perfect physically, and even though he says, like, you're an amazing person, blah blah blah. It's just, I'm not ready. It's the proof that appearances are not everything. They matter. People who say that they don't matter are liars. They do matter, to some extent, but they are not everything. And so, to people who have high standards for physical appearance, that's the proof that you are not doing the right work. That's not the most important. you know, and vice versa. So no, I mean, like,
Yeah.
AD.
Oh, I really hope it works out.
Yeah, me too.
By the way, I looked up the word. I had to look up this word because it's like such a beautiful. I love this word. It's a beautiful word. But it basically the translation. It has a few translations, but like it does say to compromise. But the word also means like to contain or to hold. So like sort of when we use it in Hebrew to talk about someone, you know, compromising for someone else, it's more than compromising. It really is like containing their emotions and understanding them to the fullest and accepting it and being like, I'm trying to think of a good better equivalent in English, but I can't. It's like but it really is that anyway. Standing ovation, Claire and AD, and hopefully they make it out.
Oh yeah, fantastic work. We'll see next week.
And fantastic work, yeah, to Clay's mum and AD's mum. She was also pretty great.
Yeah. No, good.
Yeah.
And fantastic work to us because we predicted it that they were not going to get married.
Yes, we did. Well, you predicted it. I was holding out hope, but
I you know, so this isn't a prediction, this is hope, but I hope that next week we'll see them dating and trying to make it work.
Same. I think the show anyway like shouldn't end with marriage. I don't understand why they end it with marriage. It doesn't have like if the point is love, then what does it? I think it's just a gimmick. I think they add the marriage just for the spice and everything nice and whatever, you know.
I was listening to Stephen Bartlett. I saw that he did a podcast with the Hinge CEO, and so I thought I'd listen to it, and they were saying, which I agree with, that we get fed happily ever after in Disney and romantic comedies and everything
everywhere.
Where it stops after marriage, and you know, and that's just wrong. Marriage is kind of like the easiest. It's so hard after that because when you're not married, which is what I was telling my friend, you have that escape route that you can just kind of, you know, then I can walk away from this to some extent. It's giving up at things like that, you know, that's also needs to be addressed, but not today. But when you're not married, you can, you know, move away from it. However, when you are married, people who, you know, think marriage is important and it's sacred, then you are kind of forced to stay and make it work. And that's the difference. And so people, you know, happily ever after marriage, it's no, because then once you're married, supposedly there's no escape route and you have to make it work, and you know, and overcome the frivolous. But
no, it's we expect things to work out perfectly like they do in rom-coms, and it just never does. And so I think I said this before, that you're looking for a feeling that doesn't exist. So when you do find the right person for you, or one of many right people, because I don't believe we have the one, but like when you meet the person who's right for you, you don't know how to recognize it, so you give up very easily because you're like, okay, fine, I don't feel the butterflies, I don't feel like that all-consuming love, I don't feel the fireworks, I don't feel the infatuation, so I'm just gonna let go and move on. And then you miss out. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why, look, again, I hate the whole conversation. It was like, why someone's single because they're single, you know. But yes, at some point, I think we're also saying one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people are single is because they're looking for that feeling. And then anyway, we're digressing here.
We are.
But we could move on to the main event.
Oh, no, that was the main event. I'm not taking that away from them. I think, you know, I think they that was perfect. It was perfect on communication. It was perfect on handling your emotions gracefully, but still honoring them. Like, she didn't shove them down. She felt her emotions. You know, I think it was bigger off camera and fair for her. I think the mothers were supportive. It wasn't anything of that toxic shit of just like, oh, he's so bad for you, you deserve better. It was a lot of, okay, that's fine. You know, life's tough. It was that main event. We should have kept it to the end. It was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. But
what you're referring to, I don't think is
yes.
Johnny and Amy. I think you're talking about
No.
Chelsea and Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yep,
There's a good comment here that I think brings us into this very well.
go.
Someone wrote that Chelsea is far from perfect, but he needs to go date his bestie because he cared more about her and protecting her than Chelsea,
Is that what
which is
that
an
was?
interesting take. I don't know. We'll get to Chelsea because I think she's like, whew, lots to say about her. But I think he was overwhelmed by Chelsea, and I think he was like, whoa, what's going on here? And he was like, yeah, I can't handle this. And he was trying to do his best, even his best wasn't great. But I think he was, although I can understand, she didn't choose to come on this, he did. And so why should the world know that they slept together? That's her life, and she's. But on the other hand, he was like so freaked out about it that I'm like, you care. It does seem like he cares more about his best friend than Chelsea.
I think he cares more about himself,
Oh, yes, yes, of
but not
course,
not in a
but
not in a bad like way of being selfish. And I would say that it's important to know how to be selfish when you're in
yeah,
relationships. And we can talk about that later. But I didn't. I might need to rewatch it, but I just felt that my feeling was is that he slept with this other girl whilst she was in a relationship or something, and it didn't reflect well on her or on him, and it actually reflected poorly on him. And so
yeah,
he didn't want to make a whole thing of it, and he told Chelsea in confidence off camera, because we didn't. I mean, I think it happened off camera because we didn't see it. And then he's just not owning it. Like, he didn't own the fact that he was sleeping with her. I disagree with that comment, I have to say. I mean, from what I understand and what we've seen, I think he's just not. He doesn't own the fact that he slept with this girl. It reflects poorly on him, but
yeah,
he's not gonna give up hanging out with her. And so I don't think that it was a lot about protecting his best friend's feelings. I think it's just protecting his reputation. And I can understand the whole thing, not hanging out with people that you've previously slept with and things like that. But I think the past is the past. Like, I have somebody in my life that I see sometimes, that I've slept with once, and that this was a long time ago, and JT is aware of it. And I don't know, I don't think that this is that big. I think that it's
yeah,
what we've been saying since the beginning, that I think I agree with you when you say that she overwhelmed him. She was too much for him. Um and he, unlike Clay, who was very aware of how he was feeling and things like that, I think, when she said she felt that he was kind of pulling away and not in it as much and things like that, I think she was right. But then she did become clingy and overbearing and overwhelming and things like that. I think they were both, they brought out the worst in each other.
yeah, they did. I think again they sort of just were so